Welcome back. About a year and a half ago, I made my first part to this video, saying Ninjago was just a bad show. Now, as I stand by many of my initial complaints with that video, like the overly dramatic dialogue, bad jokes, and them forgetting certain powers that the ninja had from past seasons, forgetting characters, and many other problems along those lines. However, this is not an F tier show as I previously said. There are many things that are much, much worse than this. As I stand by my initial video and all of my complaints of that, I would like to reevaluate the show. After watching more seasons and episodes, I've kind of become a fan to a point. Now, I've always been a fan of the original 2 seasons. I saw those and they were part of my childhood, and I will always have a large nostalgic factor when I watch those seasons. Now, I do have problems with the initial seasons, such as Lloyd becoming very annoying overall, but after watching from season 9 to season 15, I've kind of changed my opinion on the show overall. Now, I'm not going to retract my initial statement, but I'd like to add on to it. So without further ado, join me as we watch more Ninjago. Also, spoiler alert for all of Ninjago up until season 15. The first season that I started watching was March of the Oni, and it started off in an interesting way to put it. Maybe it had been so much time since I watched it, or all the criticism that I received about my opinions, but I've changed them slightly. I wasn't despising the show as much as I had the first time. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't loving the first couple of episodes, but it wasn't horrible. There were definitely parts that I disliked more than others. To start off, the whole sub-romantic plot between Jay wanting Nia to be his yin-yang definitely was not my favorite part, and got me bored quite fast. I would have rather had this part just left out of the series completely, and it didn't interrupt much of the main season, so I can kind of separate the two in my mind. But I can't praise this season for that much. It feels too late. If your show goes on for 10 seasons and your 10th season is good, but your middle 8 have not been, that's definitely a problem. The show relies on the other seasons and having past knowledge of the fans, so you can't just start watching at season 10. You'll need to watch a few episodes from all the previous seasons. And it feels like a lot of the stuff in the season has already happened. Garmadon was bad, then he was good, then he was bad, then he was good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, then, I'm just tired of it. Some of this stuff keeps happening over and over. Like the romantic subplot has already happened so many times. It's the same ideas again and again and again. Which is great for new audiences because they get to enjoy what so many people had enjoyed about the previous seasons. But it's bad for people who've watched the entire series because if you're a huge fan of the originals, like me, and then kind of drifted off in the middle seasons and then came back, you're gonna be bored by this because you're gonna feel like you've seen it all already. The new seasons keep just doing the exact same thing over and over and over again, and it's so boring and it's repetitive. The amount of fake deaths in the season is ridiculous. See, the problem is, unless you're a Lloyd fan, all the other ninja are completely forgotten about. Lloyd takes the shining star, and pretty much this season's just Lloyd's fun day out. With all the ninja in this show are barely in this season. They do a few meaningless tasks that don't really end up in the main overarching plot. They beat up a few bad guys, but don't get any character development. The season is great if you're just getting into it, but comes too late. If you're not a huge fan of the show up into this point and you just start watching it, you're gonna be lost. When the season wraps up, it also feels like it's wrapping up the whole show. It feels like it's putting a bow on it. It feels like they didn't mean for this to go past the season, that this is the end to the show. It feels like we don't need any more episodes. This season even ends with a big "the end." This is technically supposed to be the end of the show to my understanding, but guess what? We got more seasons, so they just continued making it for the money. Let's be honest. Quickly, in the first few episodes of the new seasons, any cool factors or any redeeming qualities that I saw in season 10 were gone. Season 11 feels exactly like Season 2. The villains are the same. Snakes get locked up in a tomb for thousands of years and then want revenge on the city and the people. It's pretty much a copy and paste of the original season. And you do it again and again, and it's boring, it's bad, and it's lazy writing. I'm fine with reintroducing the serpents, having them come back, or reusing them. I think that's a cool premise. I always wanted to see more of the serpents. But the fact is, at the end of the previous seasons, they went back underground, so now we're re-releasing them, someone's breaking them out, and they're back to do bad. It seems like they saw, hey, we made a lot of money on the first 2 seasons, let's do it again! The bigger problems that I have with this season is the same old bad jokes, same old bad characters. And after seeing how good this show can be during season 10, this is boring. And it's just so bad. Season 11, there are an episode with a news broadcast. And we spend a few minutes of this episode watching commercials inspired by the show. But these things aren't funny. They don't win the audience with a comedic way. They're boring and you just want to go back to the main story. It takes you out of what redeeming qualities it has and just gives you this bad side plot. You have no need to watch the commercials about fire sunblock, and it makes bad jokes, and you just want to get back to the story. We spend 12 minutes on a news broadcast, but we spend a tiny bit of time seeing what's going on in the rest of the city. I think that's really cool to learn more about the average people. However, I think the way that the approach this through the commercials is bad. You should have just approached this by having a new character to introduce normal citizens and normal citizen problems. An episode that follows new characters or follows existing characters meeting new characters would even be better, so we already have a stake in the plot. Or just have a new character follow Dareth, a normal average person. Take out all of the ninja problems, all of the ninja woo-woo and voo-voo, and just stick Dareth in there as he tries to come to terms with the world around him, meeting new average citizens. This problem comes up so frequently where we just follow episodes with characters we have no interest in, characters that we've never met before, and the episodes just take the interest away from what the main show is about. I just want to get back to the main storylines. I'm focused on watching these new characters when I just want to see the good old characters that I like. I will say some of these have cool plot points, like the episode where we see that the ninja are missing, so people try to break out from jail. It's really cool to see an animation style here that's different from the main style. Something more like anime. However, I just don't care enough to watch it. It's characters I don't care about. It's plots that I don't care about. It's things that have no relation to the main storyline, so I don't care. The previous episode ends on a big cliffhanger, and so I just want to get back to that episode. I don't want to watch this episode. I was so tempted watching it on demand to just hit skip. The pacing is horrible in these episodes, and in the season overall. We have a cool episode ending on a big cliffhanger, and then it takes 3 episodes for us to get back to the storyline because we're working with our Plan B storyline. It's just so bad. One of the worst things that I hate about season 11 is we have 2 seasons essentially built into one. We go from having this whole thing about the serpents to wait, we're gonna forget about them, go on this side plot, like we have these main villains that are fighting, and then they teleport through a portal, and now we're in a new realm, and now Zane's the villain, and blah! We're doing this thing again, where it's like, we take something, this is cool, we're going with this, and nope, here's this other thing, smacking it out of the way, and now we're doing this other thing, forget about that thing, it's never going to be mentioned again. It's the problems I have with Ninjago, where we have something interesting, but then we forget it, we're doing something new, we don't like that anymore, now like this. However, now I'd like to direct my attention from what I view as bad to what I view as good, and talk about my favorite episode in the entire series. This episode is part of Season 11, and it's called The Last of the Formlings. And if you only watch one episode of Ninjago, watch this one. This is one of those episodes that explores a different animation style, one where it's not using Lego minifigures. It feels like this is an episode not designed to sell toys, but to just be a good story. This episode, we finally get backstory of what's been happening this entire second half of Season 11. We learn more about the Ice King and where he's come from. We learn more about the realm and what's happening in it. But most of all, it's a good story. It's compelling. It makes the audience want to watch. After watching an episode like this, it's hard to go back to the bad jokes and the mundane story plots. If the show could just continue being like this, I would like it much, much more. See, the creators wrote themselves into this interesting challenge where they made an actually good story. But then I get quickly reminded that it's kiddie show garbage because it's just kind of bad. Jokes are bad, but it has interesting story plots, so it makes me really confused on if I actually like this episode. But I do. It's cool to see something new. It's cool to see them taking a risk. But immediately after this episode, we're back into the bad stuff. It's just so crazy for me to see how different these episodes are and how good this story can be. Problems I have with all of this is the motivation of the villains. I've talked about this a lot in my last episode, so I don't want to reiterate anything that I've already said. But the biggest problem I have with Ninjago is that the motivation is always to destroy Ninjago. Create a better storyline with better villains after 15 seasons of the same thing. It's so boring. I know a lot of people say that the villains are different in each season and that they have different motivations, but seriously, look at it. They always want to destroy Ninjago and bring suffering to the people, to the ninja. It's boring. Create a better storyline. There's so much interesting storylines that we could have, and I guess you might say Marvel villains do the same thing or Star Wars villains do the same thing, but they're different in my mind. They all have motivations, character plots, all these things, and it's just kind of one overarching villain throughout the whole saga. Every villain is different in the seasons, but all want to do the same thing. Now, the interesting thing is I didn't know about this between watching seasons 10 and 11, but writing the script, I learned more about it. After season 10, they decided to reboot the show, leading them to make whole new stories, making the episodes shorter. Instead of around 20 minutes, they were going to make them now 10. This is a problem with the show, that it kind of throws away the entire original show, shelving it. They take the characters and some ideas to throw them to the fans of the original show, but they essentially rebooted it, continuing this new show. So fans can now just start watching at season 11, and they don't have to watch the 10 seasons that followed prior. The biggest thing that threw me off was when Jay was talking about his parents abandoning him. The problem that I have with this is that in the original show, we see Jay's parents a lot. They live in a junkyard. They're scrappers. We have whole episodes where his parents are the major characters in them. This new show completely throws away the original show. I think it's cool that they're rebooting it so people don't have to watch 10 seasons of a show. However, don't just throw everything away. You could just reboot it, but continue a lot of the same story plots. But no, they don't care about the original fans. They just want to make a new thing to sell more toys. We're Lego, the evil company. However, throwing away so much of the original content alienates the original fan base. You have new toys to sell, and you want to make a show for a 5-year-old. And that's all well and good. That's always what this show has been about. But you have fans that grew up with this, that you could capitalize on, but now you're just throwing away. The biggest fail of the show is that they have these one-off weird episodes, where in the middle of these cool fight scenes that something interrupts them, cliffhanger, we stop it, and then we go into a different story for multiple episodes, and then return back to the main story. It's these weird plan B stories that we go into, spend some episodes on, you kind of forget about the main story. By the time you get back to it, you're like, oh, I don't care about this anymore, and I don't even care about that. So do I even care about the show as a whole? You can clearly see that they have a story that can be told in 5 episodes. However, they stretch it out to make as much time last as they can so they can make the most amount of money they can. In season 13, we get a whole episode about a side character who initially went on a quest to find the evil skull but failed. This episode could have been distilled into a 32-ish second expose about how he did this, but instead it decides to give us a whole freaking episode about this. And it's garbage. I don't care about the side character. I just want to get back to my main characters. The amount of nonsense in this show is so unbelievable. The show is a complete game in my mind. Each episode, the characters need to go on a different hunt, finding a different quest, completing different challenges, and fighting another battle. They need to go on a small quest to find some items before they can take on the villain and go on a bigger quest. This new reboot feels more of a video game side quest character thing than a real TV show. To me, the biggest sin that this show has done is destroy one of my favorite LEGO properties ever, the LEGO movie Clutch Powers. This takes one of my favorite characters and turns him into a loser babbling idiot. He turns a cool guy that's someone that I really like, someone I grew up with, a movie that I liked, and you can't even look at him. He's so different. It takes a cool idea for Clutch Powers to come back in a show and show these fans nostalgic elements to get them into this new show, but turns him into a drunk, babbling, high idiot that no one wants to see. Something that's so unrecognizable from the initial character that it feels foreign. The biggest problem with these new episodes is that you can see their heart is no longer in it. You can tell that they are not wanting to make the show anymore because they want to make the show. You now see that they want to make toys. There's only few episodes dedicated to actually telling a story. There are cool concepts, but they are quickly turned from cool concepts to boring side quests fast. The jokes are bad. The writing is repetitive from previous seasons, and the storytelling is just sad to see what it's become since it used to be so good. If I thought the last 9 seasons of Ninjago that I saw were bad, I should have watched this. In comparison to those 9 seasons, they look Oscar-worthy compared to the garbage that is coming out now. The show is clearly made for a younger demographic, where the original show had something that all demographics could take out, an older or a younger. Still watching it now, I can find enjoyment because the show was made to, yes, sell toys, but to also be a good show. It was only meant to be 2 seasons, and now it's been stretched on to infinite numbers of seasons, I guess. However, the new seasons don't care about the old fan base. They don't care about making a cool show for older audience. All they care about is driving up those sales. We all want an end to the show. We want the original show back, with the original ninja, with everyone original. Dareth's not even in this. Dareth is my favorite character in all of Ninjago, and he's not even in the new seasons at all. A side mention here or there, but no Dareth? Dareth is the best character, and you just threw him away, LEGO. There's no huge twists or turns in any of this new seasons. The show has fallen from grace. It's gone on too long, in my opinion. It should have ended at season 10, where it was initially intended to be stopped, before they rebooted it. If it ended then, it would end on this high legacy. It would have gone out on a bang. It would have gone out on something that was memorable. However, all of the fans went out there and said, keep going, keep going. And I stand by that. If they had continued going from season 10, continuing producing that level of quality, this new show would be really good. However, they didn't. They listened to the fans, but then didn't listen to them because they're like, okay, you want new episodes, but now you're all in your mid to late teens to 20s, so we're just going to make a new show for 5-year-olds that's going to alienate all of you. Can you tell I'm a little mad about this? I'm just a little mad. I can't call this show bad because it's not even that. This show bored me out of my mind, and I can't believe I spent my time watching 4 more seasons of this. Who knows, maybe in the future I'll make a part 3 to this video, but that's pretty doubtful. Needless to say, I'm a fan of the original shows. I love the initial 2 seasons, and I love season 10. The seasons in between that, they're pretty good. There's highlights, there's low points, but this new show, as there's an episode here or there that I like, out of, let's say the 40 episodes I watched, 3 episodes coming out well is bad. I want to reevaluate what I gave my rating from the initial show. I don't think it's an F tier. I would say the initial 2 seasons are probably about a C+ to a B-. This season's between 3 and 9 were maybe a solid C. Season 10 was a B to a B+, and then season 11 to current is like a D+, maybe? Does that seem fair? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for letting me ramble for so much time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.